Hi guys and girls, I'm Obsidian Ant and welcome back to Elite Dangerous. Join me as I take a look at the year in review of 2017. This is part 2 of a two-part series. Part 1 took a look at the Thargoids. In this episode I take a look at everything else. So let's take a step back in time and check out what the year had to offer. Throughout the year, many discoveries were made, most of them surrounding various mysteries, and alien life is perhaps one of the biggest mysteries of all, albeit, in this case, non-sentient life. Now these came in the form of various organic structures, and on the odd occasion, crystalline structures as well, sometimes located in deep space, on other occasions like these, situated right near habited areas. Outside of all the alien content, the biggest release of the year, and without doubt the most anticipated one, would have been The Commanders, that's patch 2.3. It brought within avatars, a character creator, as well as multi-crew. Right off the bat, the character creator was immensely popular, and the initial livestream done by Frontier on the creator was received with a lot of positivity. The aspect that everyone was waiting for with this update though was multi-crew itself, and it's very hard to talk about this aspect without also mentioning all the criticism that came along with it. Whilst ultimately multi-crew did the job, it gets everyone on board your ship, it was perhaps a little bit too combat-centric. Some of the initial concepts thrown out there by Frontier spoke of a far different system with a lot more depth to it and much more interaction from the various players on board the ship. And so it left some areas of the player base feeling that multi-crew was perhaps a little bit too limited. However, it certainly does the job and brought a much needed element of pick up and play to the game. The update certainly went a long way in fleshing out the type of locations players could visit, from asteroid bases to megaships to a multitude of outposts including civilian and military, scientific and many more. And as we came to the end of 2017, it became clear that at least a few of these aspects were being introduced into various gameplay loops. The megaships and the damage stations are a great example of this, so gameplay attached to locations like this in the future would be a very welcome addition. Patch 2.3 also brought along with it the new camera suite, which allowed players to see the game from entirely new perspectives. Back in 2016, players located an ancient ruin. It was soon discovered there were many more of these laid around, and in early 2017 the engineer Ram Tah offered a 100 million credit reward for a mission to go out and understand and learn about these ruins. The mission also came with a 100 million credit reward bonus, making it the most valuable mission ever offered within the game. Unfortunately, it turned out that the puzzle for this mission was bugged, and it prevented many people from completing or even attempting the mission. Ultimately though, the bug was fixed and many a player did come out to these wonderful locations to experience them and participate in the puzzle for themselves. The Ram Tah puzzle and 2017 then certainly marked a start for curated content for Elite Dangerous. Ever since the game's release all the way back in 2014, many players have been attempting to solve one of the most elusive mysteries within the game, and that was the mystery of the Formidine Rift. This finally came to a head in 2017 as players started to locate abandoned and strange outposts in some of the most remote areas of space. Each outpost brought along with it a separate part of the story which players were then able to piece together to form a larger picture. Ultimately, this led players to a long-abandoned megaship out there in the remote area of space known as the Formidine Rift. Logs found here spoke of a vast conspiracy, a conspiracy so large in fact that it went beyond even the realms of the Federation, the Empire and the Alliance. The Formidine Rift story culminated in perhaps what was one of the most divisive ever in-game events, the hunt for Salome, a central character to the Formidine story. This played out in the form of a cat-and-mouse chase across the galaxy, which unfortunately led to a lot of player confusion as many people were unable to even figure out what was going on. And in perhaps a completely predictable and expected twist, Salome was betrayed by a player. And eventually a final message was released revealing the true nature of the conspiracy. The earliest references to Generation ships goes all the way back to the original Elite game in 1984. Generation ships were ships sent out into deep space in order to form colonies before the existence of faster-than-light travel. Many of these ships made it to their destination. Unfortunately, a few did not. In 2017, players began to discover these long-abandoned and long-lost generation ships. Each of them came with their own unique story, informing you of what had occurred in their background. These came in the form of voice-acted logs, a very welcome addition to the game. Whilst the generation ships didn't bring with them much in the way of additional gameplay, they nonetheless went a long way in fleshing out the universe of Elite Dangerous. It's still possible that many other ships exist out there, and of course there's a long-rumoured space dredgers that may still be present. 2017 also brought along with it many other things, such as the PlayStation 4 release and a new audience, and of course the patch 2.4 update, which I've spoken about in part 1 of this video series. The update had a whole load of quality of life updates, and eventually brought along with it the Type 10, the new ship, and I believe the only new ship released this year. So as a final summary of the year in review, I'd like to talk about a few of my thoughts for 2017 in Elite Dangerous. The year really did ramp up what we could call curated or scripted content. That is, content which unfolds within the Elite Galaxy independent of the players, but stuff which nonetheless players can actively get involved in. Examples of this are the generation ships, the Thargoid bases, and of course the station attacks which have happened only recently. The way in which this stuff unfolds, I know, is a little bit divisive for many opinions for the player base, but personally I find it's a great addition to Elite. The problem I have with it though, like many other players, is the pacing of it. For example, when the Thargoids first started interdicting players, that was in January of 2017, we didn't really see any more of this until the Thargoid bases in June of the same year. That meant 6 months without much really happening. Of course, there was stuff going on in the background, but most of that was not really stuff you could actively get involved with. It wasn't as such gameplay. Yet the discovery of the Thargoid bases was really one of the best aspects of the year. The bases were wonderfully realised and had fantastic atmosphere, and the gameplay around them did a wonderful job of attempting to appeal to many different player types. So of course, 2017 has without doubt been a year of the Thargoids, and the alien combat itself has been something I've really enjoyed. Now, pacing issues aside, the thing that's really lit the Thargoid content down, for me at least, is the over-reliance on community goals. It's not something which, in my opinion at least, has done significant damage to the update, but it was something which took a little bit of the appeal and some of the shine off the Thargoid content. But that said, it all did a spectacular recovery with these station attacks. Away from the alien content, the problem I did have with 2017 was the same problem I've had with every previous year of Elite. And that's the fact the game continues to trip over itself in an attempt to get in your way. There's many such examples of this, from the lack of in-game information to tell you about in-game events, and indeed the tools to help you find those things, and the over-reliance and far too abundant use of RNG. However, the good news is that both these issues are going to be addressed in 2018. Sticking with the subject of a few of the things that did disappoint me in 2017, I'd have to also point out multi-crew. Now, although this didn't bother me in the same way it did some other people, I do feel, however, that it felt as though it was tacked on rather than adding additional depth to the game. Overall though, I think 2017 has been a very, very good year for Elite. The galaxy itself has been fleshed out with a huge number of different locations and content such as generation ships, mega ships, alien structures, as well as the aliens themselves. There's also been an awesome number of quality of life updates, and these really have gone a long way to dramatically improve the feel of the game. So then, overall, I'd say 2017 is the year that Frontier dramatically fleshed out the Elite Galaxy. We also know that 2018 is the year that Frontier want to flesh out the gameplay. If then they can flesh out the gameplay in the same way they fleshed out the Galaxy this year, then this time next year we should be in a very good position with the game. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time.